really terrific 2-year MPA program. And uh, I will say a little bit more about myself in just a minute. I'm here with a bunch of terrific people. Let me start with Amy and Jonas, who are, well, Amy is a recent graduate whom we miss already, even though you've just been out a year, who's very special. All our graduates are special, but maybe I'll ask Amy and then Jonas to say hello. Amy?
Hello, everyone. I'm Amy, and like Lloyd said, I'm a recent graduate. I just finished in July, and I'm missing it so much already. Over to you,
Good.
Jonas.
Well, and where are you, say where you're
Oh,
zooming in from?
I'm zooming in from Kenya. I moved here a few months ago with my job, so that's very exciting and a warm weather change from London.
Yeah, it's to be fair, it's a beautifully sunny day. It is a little cold, but it's actually colder than usual, but London has been looking really nice lately. Jonas, over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Jonas. I'm from Germany and I'm currently in the second and last year, sadly, of the MPA.
Yeah, it is sad. But okay, well, so I'm going to turn back to them after a little while. I want them to tell you what it's really like, and maybe you could talk about your capstone projects or what have you. Let's go down. Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I am the program manager for the MPA, so I work alongside Lloyd looking after practicalities and things like that.
Because I don't, I work on impracticalities. Georgina.
Oh, turn on my camera. Hello, everybody. I'm Georgina. I'm the head of marketing and recruitment for the SPP. So I work to help bring everybody together and to help promote our programs. So thanks for being here.
Great. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the Student Experience Officer here at the School of Public Policy, and I help a variety of different people in different teams, basically making students' time here amazing and also helping showcase that to you guys. So hope if you have any questions about that, do let me know.
And Maddie.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining. I'm Maddie. I'm the Premium Service Manager for the School of Public Policy and Executive Programs, and I will be your contact for any questions related to admissions.
Yeah, so let me say thanks to all of you, and thanks especially to our alum and to our second year student, but also to you for joining into the session. So I think these things work best if they're unstructured. The structure is at the beginning. What I'm going to do now is just tell you a little bit about what's going on this time of year. It's actually a very busy week. Last couple of weeks have been busy, and just give you a sense of what's going on. And then I'm going to run you through a short slide presentation, and we'll make those slides available. And then I'm going to turn the slideshow off so we can see your faces and you can see our faces, and we'll just have a chat. Along the way, if any of you have questions that aren't answered, please put them in the chat and we'll do our best to get back to you. And that includes questions on anything. So let me just say that, yeah, so what's going on? So what's going on right now, the second year students are incredibly busy. They've met their MPA capstone clients. There are 20 some odd different teams. I'm supervising a couple of them, one with UNDP, one with the Overseas Development Institute. I'll talk about the capstones, and I'm sure Jonas and Amy will have things to say about their capstone projects. It's a very exciting experience for the second year students. And one thing to say about the capstone projects are that the students do a terrific job, but precisely because it's happening in the second year after they've had all this foundational sort of core training in the first year. So they hit the ground running, and it's wonderful to see. And these are kind of mini consulting projects that aren't so many. They last for 6-7 months, and you really get to know the clients, and it's not just a pretend project. It's real, and it's quite intense. So the students have met the clients. They're working up their terms of reference, and moving ahead. The second year students, many of them, probably actually most of them, are also writing policy papers, MPA policy papers. And there's some workshops that I've been running alongside those. In fact, there's one coming up tomorrow. Well, I'll see Jonas there. They're also busy with a new core course that we've put on for the first time this year. Amy missed out on it. It's a fantastic course called Strategic Policymaking, which is designed to bring together a lot of the skills the students learn in the first year and apply them to, well, the students are working in teams of maybe 4 or 5 students on the same project throughout the term. And at the beginning of the course, they have lectures on, let's say, cost benefit analysis. And so they have the lecture, and then in the seminars, they run through cost benefit analysis for the particular project the students are working on. So I've been watching a number of these presentations, which have been terrific. So for example, a bunch of students are working on traffic congestion in Jakarta. So they run a cost benefit analysis of their proposal in those weeks. And then the next week, so the last couple of weeks, I've come in, and I'm a political scientist, and I talk to them or remind them what we learned the last year on politics and political economy and political feasibility, and get them thinking about how to perhaps tweak their proposal to make it more politically sellable. And so the students then adapt their proposals and work on that. And then this week they're working on the narrative, how to give a speech, how to a persuasive speech about their proposal. And then later on they have someone come talk to them about how to implement their proposal, and they adapt their proposal again. And then by the end of it, they have the whole package. It's very exciting, a lot of work, a very intense new course, but we're really excited about it. So having said all that, as busy as the second years are this week, the first years maybe even are busier, because they're taking their core courses. And so they're learning microeconomics, but not just standard micro that they might have learned in their first degree if they were taking econ courses, or they did economics at their first degree. They're learning micro for public policy, the emphasis being on the applied side of it, making these skills and useful. They're also learning how to deal with data and econometrics. And again, for not just the theory, not proving theorems so much as actually being able to analyze data for and put it to use for policy. And they're learning about politics in a political science course that's also an applied course. So and then they also all the first years, and Jonas could and Amy could also maybe speak to this. There is scope even in the first year for option courses. Usually most students take our courses in the SPP within the School of Public Policy because they're quite good courses, but students do have scope to roam across the LSE, to take courses in philosophy, to take courses in from our International Development Department and from our Social Policy Department and so forth. So there is some scope for choice, which is really nice. Yeah, so just to say, look, we know other alternatives. There are other policy schools available out there, and I think as you'll hear, we're very enthusiastic about this one. It might not be right for everybody, but I thought I would say just at the outset, before I run through these slides, I think I counted 5 sort of unique selling points, 5 things that make us special. You'll see this in the slides, and you'll hear it from the students or from Amy, a former student, but which maybe will help you make a difficult decision. So there's so much to like about the LSE, but I think for me, or thinking about the position that you're in, the first thing, and I can elaborate on all of this, is necessary, but the first thing is our faculty is amazing. And it's not just the SPP faculty, who my colleagues are wonderful, but you have access to faculty across the whole university, across the LSE. Another selling point is London. So as you just heard, our students are very busy. We do keep you busy, but when you have downtime, and you'll have a little bit, it's not a bad place to spend 2 years. I was at the, as you can hear from my accent, I'm American. I was at the University of Chicago at the Harris School as a professor there when I came here, and I just fell really hard for London. It's a very special place, as vibrant as any. It's really, I think it would be hard to live anywhere else after having spent some time here. And the nice thing about the 2-year MPA is you really get a chance to know the city. And as you'll see in just a moment, we're right in the heart of the city. So, another reason, maybe a second reason we're special is London. A third reason is that we're smaller than other policy schools out there. We're a little more intimate. Your professors will know who you are. They'll know your names if you take our courses. We'll even know how you think, and get to help you and sharpen your skills. So we think the size is right, and we are a community, and that's really helpful. First of all, it makes it, for me as a member of the faculty, it makes it exciting, but we think it's also a real value of for our students. And speaking of our students, and I'll show you the numbers in just a moment, we are a truly global public policy school. So other policy schools will say they're global and they have students from elsewhere, but nothing compares to our student body or to the LSE as an institution. We are everywhere. And if you're going to be an effective policymaker in the world that we live in now, you need to know how to navigate a global environment and how to work with people from all over and bring all those perspectives to bear. And you really get to do this. In fact, you have to do it at the SPP, and it's fun, and you get practice doing it. So it's not just the SPP. The LSE is a global hub. If you have a new book on anything, and you want to get a global audience, maybe you go to New York, but you also, and maybe first, come to London, to the LSE, and you give a public lecture, and you present it, at the SPP, at the LSE. So that's exciting. And then let me just say the last thing, which maybe we can come back to, is we are actually, I think, in the spectrum, and I've had a lot of experience with different policy schools, we are on the more academic side, kind of way out on the more academic side of a kind of spectrum. So there's lots of networking opportunities, as you'll see. There's career services, we have a big alumni network, but we do work you hard in the classroom. And we do that for a reason. We do it because we think the skills you'll learn from us here are not skills you'll learn on the job. They're precisely because they're hard and because they take time. You have to learn them, and then you have to practice them. So, you should sort of trust me that time that we spend on them is well spent. We value the skills. The policy world, the wider world out there, values them as well. And these are 2 crucial years at the beginning, or if perhaps you're relaunching your career, to hone those skills, to learn them, to master them, or to begin to master them, and then to use them. So we don't apologize for this. We're quite intense and quite academic. We think social sciences have a lot to contribute. And so, yeah, we work our students hard, and we look for students who are willing to challenge themselves in that way. It's not a total grind, but it's quite intense and quite academic, I would say, in the best way. So let me see if I can share my slides, and I'll run through these quickly, but you might have questions. This is partly to spark questions, and we can have further discussion. So Jonas and Amy, can you see the slide? Okay, good. So Yeah, so so we can get this clicker to work. Yeah, okay, good. So I haven't really talked about the LSE. The LSE is a very special place. We were just ranked #1 in the UK, but given the state of higher education around the world, the UK is probably #1 in the world. So that's quite something. The first thing you see there is Nobel Prize winners. We just a couple of weeks ago had another Nobel Prize winner, an economics colleague, just won one every a year or two. We don't win one every year. We win one maybe every 2 years. We have another Nobel laureate on the faculty. The important point, I think, for you is not that we have all these Nobel Prizes. It's that they're accessible. Every faculty on the LSE campus has office hours, and we kind of cherry pick at the SBP. We get faculty who are really interested in teaching, interested in students, and you will get to know them. So it's a great institution. It's also perfectly located. We're a short walk from the Houses of Parliament, from Big Ben, beautiful Buckingham Palace, from all these museums. But also you go in the other direction. The financial district is right there, St. Paul's. It's just a hive of activity. I cycle to and from work, and it's an exhilarating experience. Cycling over Waterloo Bridge and looking to my left, looking to my right, and you really do feel that. There are also a lot of students in the area, and we have, well, just to go back for a moment, we have a very nice campus. I haven't been here that long, but it didn't used to be so posh. But now we've got everything, and we have a great student center, basketball courts, everything. As you see, we have an upside down globe that's garnered a lot of attention. The lecture halls are nice. It's a very nice place to teach and to be a student. This slide just hammers home the point I was making earlier about the school being truly global. We have a growing, very active alumni base. We have 60 nationalities in a school, which is not that big. It's the right size. I'll come back to that in just a moment. The backgrounds of our students, as you see here to my left or right, are from all over. Some have done law, some have had previous exposure to economics or political science, but many of them have had none, and that's not just okay, it's really nice. It creates a nice mix. And for some of those students, the value added of our program might be even larger precisely because they have not had prior experience in those things. So the MPA program is an early stage career program. It's designed for you. It provides the experience. It's built in, it's baked into the program through this capstone project that we'll talk more about. The class this past year is about 83 students. So that's about the right size, because I know everybody's name, and the age you see here is the average age is 26, but there's quite a spread. So we have some students, not so many, but some have come directly from their undergraduate, but many of them have had, the average is about 3.5 years, but some have had 10 years. It's quite a mix as well. And in a class of 83, I want you to look at the top number there and the bottom number. 83 students, 23 nationalities represented in that. So it's just very special. I don't think in fact, I know other programs really can't compete on that score. I won't go into the weeds of our curriculum. I've already said, so just to say that in the first year, it's sort of foundational training. Most of the students will take these 3-year-long core courses, and one of them in political science, one of them micro and macro, another one in econometrics and statistics, quantitative approaches. They're all, but there is still scope in there for option courses like the one I'm doing on international political economy and development. So that's the first year. The second year, the capstone is a big piece of it, but so also is this new course I was talking about, strategic policy making. And then there's more scope in the second year than in the first year for students to write a policy paper and to take courses in other things that they might have discovered in their first year that they're interested in and want to try out. One of the beautiful things about the MPA is that precisely because it is 2 years, students can pivot. They can come in maybe interested in what they were working on, but they, in the course of taking these core courses and talking to all these students who come from all sorts of places and with different backgrounds, it might spark interest in other fields, which then they can pursue in the second year. And this happens all the time. And it doesn't happen in a one-year program in the same way because there's just frankly not enough time. So the capstone, I already have said a word about the capstone. Maybe we'll come back to this. It's the capstone. It's the culmination in some ways of everything you've been doing in the first year. In the second year, you do these projects. This is just a small sample of the ones we're running now. I'm supervising one with UNDP. I'm supervising one with the Overseas Development Institute that aren't listed here. There are lots of others, and Amy and Jonas maybe can speak to that. So so we ran about 20 of them this past year. That is so, and the projects have 4 or 5 students on them throughout the months. Basically, it stretches through the academic year. There are we have very as you might expect, but I don't take it for granted. We have very active students, and as a result, I mean, they're involved in everything. So we have a very active women's network. We have a student association that's terrific. We have a journal. The MPA or the SBP is part of a larger network of policy schools that hold conferences at various places, in New York, in Brazil, in Paris, in Berlin. So students get involved in that. We have a number of professional skills programs. One of the things I was emphasizing earlier, the classroom work, but our students will also have what we call it a professional skills accelerator. So there's a number of workshops that happen throughout the year. So you learn how to give a good talk. You learn how to use PowerPoint. You learn all the kind of practical skills that are less suited to the classroom. So you get that as well. And those skills are again, if the goal is to be an effective policymaker, you need to have that as well. And we do a really nice job at that. There are all sorts of seminars and there are public lectures, and I could go on and on. I'm speaking quickly because there's too much. We offer too much. It's so hard for me to get through it. Our alumni is getting bigger. They're very active. We have career support, career services, and we can perhaps talk more about that if you have questions. As this slide says, and this is right, we are looking for, the word passion is important. We want students who are energetic, who want to make the world better, and maybe don't have the portfolio of skills or the background or the experience that they feel like they need, that they do need. So they come here for 2 years, and then when they graduate, they still have that passion, but it's now focused, and they have the training. They know how to think analytically. They have some practical experience that will help them get that first job. And with all those skills, they rocket to the top. You do need to be a strong student academically for all the reasons I was just saying. We do emphasize the classroom work, and we go quickly. So you need to be prepared for that. And it's helpful when you're writing your statement of purpose if you don't get AI to write it. We want to see that you actually do understand what you're getting into, and there's a rationale for it. So this slide, I'm not going to speak to it, but I'll just say one thing about it. So this will be available. This tells you how to apply. One thing to note is that there's an early application, and this helps for SPP scholarships. That's the 22nd of January, 2026. You can apply later, but we strongly encourage, if you are thinking of applying and joining us, that you get your application in by that time. There's lots of places to go to find more information about us and the LSE. But again, the slides will be available. And if you have questions, please do share them. So I've just turned off the slide share. Hopefully you can everything's working. So let me ask, actually, Amy, can you say a word about maybe what you're doing now, but also what attracted you to the SPP, to the MPA, and maybe what surprised you, and then I'll turn to Jonas.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what I'm doing now is I work as a consultant for an international development consultancy called DAI Global. And my role is split between business development, so proposal writing, and then program and grant management, which has been really enjoyable. That's what brought me to Kenya. But what drew me to the MPA, I think, were three things. First, that it was a 2-year program. I wanted kind of more time to really gain skills and be present and figure out what I wanted from this degree. And with that, I also enjoyed the courses that were available and kind of the emphasis on the hard skills and the econometrics and economics. As Lloyd said, I had just a little bit of that my freshman year of my undergrad, so I was excited to kind of get into that rigorous work. And then the second was the capstone. I was really excited about the opportunity, and I did mine with the TFL, so Transport for London, which is a really good experience, and I enjoyed it greatly. And then the final point is just to be in London, because it really is the most amazing city, and it's so fun, and there's always something to do, and it's just so diverse, and you can find really any activity. And I, just absolutely love London and hope to go back someday. Biggest surprises, I think, kind of what Lloyd was saying, is that it truly is such an international program. Like, your classmates are from all over, and that just makes learning so much more interesting, because you first get to become friends with people who have such diverse backgrounds, which is always kind of enriching. But also in an academic setting, it really expanded how we thought, what we talked about, examples used, and it was just so much more enriching than my previous undergrad was in an American university, which was also great, but kind of a lot more focused on kind of American politics or American economics. So this was great to have such an international, perspective of everything.
That's great. And maybe we'll talk about capstones. I'll come back and ask about that. Jonas, same question. So what attracted you to us, and maybe what surprised you? Positively, or I suppose negatively, if there's anything negative. But
I would say I think how should I say this? If I knew what the experience would be like, I wouldn't have thought a second if I take the offer or not. Because I mean, I'm German, so I do have the opportunity to study for free in Germany. So obviously I was thinking, is it worth it spending the money, being in London, whatever, to make that decision. And then I came here, and I think the first couple of weeks I was just like, okay, wow, I've learned more in a couple of weeks than in my whole undergrad, which was amazing. Like, you will definitely have a lot of wow moments. I think I wrote a couple of things down that I wish I knew earlier, which is how amazing the 2 years are. I think just having time meeting the professors being willing to get to know you as well, because they know you are there for 2 years and not just 1 year. And then just giving yourself time to figure out, where do I want to move in the first year, and then specializing more in the second year. I think this is amazing, and you don't have the pressure of, oh my God, I need to choose the right courses now, because you have another year where you can choose courses, and you listen around, you're in the library, you will meet someone who tells you about this amazing course, and you can be like, oh yeah, actually next year I have time to do that. I think what's also great about the program is how applied it is. So you will talk about real world issues in an academic, rigorous way. So I think I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use the word, but like, you will be called out on your bullshit. So if you think you will, you might come in and say, I want to save, I don't know, I want to make energy more sustainable or whatever, then that's good. But in the program, you will get pushed to the point to really make these statements actually work in the real world. So I think sometimes in my undergrad, we did this, we talked about issues very like high level and academical. And here I think it's connected to the actual real world. Is the policy feasible? What would you need to do to make it work in the real world? So you will have, I mean, our dean, Andres, was finance minister in Chile for 4 years. Vanessa was deputy finance minister, deputy foreign minister in Mexico. We had one guest lecturer. She was the head of the central bank in Ukraine and reformed it. And so you have these people that are academics, but they worked in the real life. And I think this is something I don't know why, but I didn't know this before. And then you sit in the classroom and then Andres walks in and it's like, yeah, I was the finance minister in Chile. And you're like, what? And then they give you actually like the real world examples and know what works and what doesn't. So I think these are just, yeah, these are points and learnings from people I couldn't have had in Germany. And so for me, looking back, it wouldn't be a hard decision anymore.
That's great. So let me circle back to Amy and ask about your capstone experience and Jonas as well. So did that pull things together for you?
Yeah, I think the capstone was a great way to bring everything we had learned, especially in the first year, to our own project where we had a lot of freedom. So working with the Transport for London as a client, they kind of gave us a general direction they would hope to see us move, but they were happy with whatever. And so we were able to really think and take the ownership of this project and use all of the skills that we had gained. And it was also really nice because in our first year, I don't know if it's the same way now, but there's a lot of effort to put students into groups and to kind of mingle with your classmates. So when you do get to the capstone, our experience at least was like we had a working relationship, and it was really nice to be able to execute this whole project from start to finish with our classmates that we've been with. So yeah, it was really great.
I'll just, before I get to Jonas, I'll just say from my vantage point as a supervisor, I know the students. I've taught them in their first year in most cases, and what I see, of course they see it, but it's so stark for me is how much they've improved over the course of it's just a year, but it's a very busy year, and their minds are sort of rewired, and they start, yeah, Jonas, the bullshit is gone. And instead, what we have is really sharp thinking, analytical thinking, and also very good presenting. They're just more confident, and as a result, much more compelling as speakers when at the end of these projects, the students present their final, they have a report, but they also make a presentation, and all of them are incredibly well spoken. And the slides are well rendered. It's beautiful to see, and it's not the kind of thing that would happen in the first year. You really do need the seasoning that comes from having done it, having spent some time, having it bed in. It's just so much better in the second year. But by the end of the second year, Jonas, so you haven't done the final presentation, but you're in the midst of figuring out what the project's going to be about and working with the client. How's that going?
Yeah. So I do think it pulls things together, especially the quantitative part from first year and then Lewis's class in the second year, the mandatory.
The second year course he's talking about is this new, it's a one-term course. We call it a half-unit course called Strategic Policy Making. This is the new edition where students
yes
are in groups, and it takes them through the economics and the politics and the implementation and the narrative, all of it in one course.
Yes, and it's been terrific so far, and it helped us already for the capstone also, because the big chunk now in the beginning was like problem description. So this is what I said earlier. You think you saw a problem and it's easy to solve, but actually we now looked for like, I would say 4 or 5 weeks only at like how to define the problem, like what is actually the problem and how can we solve it. And I'm working with the Financial Conduct Authority, and we are looking into how different regulatory regimes enhance the development of financial AIs applications. And yeah, from the first year, as you said, I think you rewire your brain a lot and you ask much smarter questions, and you're much more like every sentence you say, you kind of you will have a proof for it, or you will be like, well, I'm making this claim, what is backing it up? Also statistically from like methodology wise. So that definitely in our project already, yeah, like we definitely take knowledge from last year and from this year to work the project on.
That's great. Well, why don't we take questions and maybe see what's on your mind, and we happy to elaborate on anything. So I guess you should raise your Zoom hand, and I'll see if that works. If not, we'll just have you shout out your questions. So yeah, go ahead and raise your hand. Anything. All right, I see. Okay, Lucy. Yeah, I don't see you, but I see your hand. So, what's up?
Hello, thank you so much for the presentation. It has really cleared many questions that I already had.
Where are you zooming in from?
Oh, from Shanghai.
If you care to say, you don't need to say, but
Shanghai, China.
okay, that's long way. It's great. I don't know whether it's early in the morning. It's probably middle of the night. Yeah. So, what's your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering regarding the capstone. How are the clients allocated? Do we get a chance to choose the clients we want to work for, or is it based on something else? That's a point I didn't really understand quite well.
Yeah, so a good question. So and I'll turn to Jonas. It's changed a little bit since Amy did it, but basically we give students a menu of 25 some odd capstone clients. The clients are there are a lot of they're international organizations. There's OECDs, IMF. There's Bank of England. There's also they're from around the world. A number of them are based in London or have offices in London. There's just a whole. Some of them are more development focused. Some of them more finance. They're really it's really the whole thing. And the students are given a kind of broad idea of what they're told about the client, but they're also told what the client is interested in, and then they well, Jonas, why don't you say so when you were presented with this,
Yes.
how did you choose?
You get kind of, we call it the menu, where you have
Yeah.
all the projects with a little description, and you usually have 3 or 4 projects in the same kind of like area. So you have like international development, tech policy. You have it's a bit clustered, but you have like a very wide range. Like I think no one was disappointed. It was more like overwhelmed and like, shit, what should I choose?
Yeah.
And then you rank them. So you put your highest priority, then the second highest, and everyone does that, and then you get allocated. But usually the projects are so widely spread that I'm thinking, but there was no one who maybe some people wouldn't get their first choice. Like I got my first choice and a lot of my friends as well, but if you don't get your first choice, you usually get the second, third, which
it's not below that. Yeah.
Yes, you won't be unhappy about it. Like usually you will struggle anyway between the first 2 or 3, like how you put them, and you will get one of them.
Yeah, and then you're off and running. And what often happens, so this year, so we've given students part of the exercise for the students, and this is pedagogically useful for them, but it's also useful for the clients. Some of these projects are they're not fully baked, but the client knows what they're looking for, and so the terms of reference are pretty well fleshed out. Others are it's sort of the client doesn't know exactly what they're looking for. They have some rough idea, and the students then have to do more work, and it often takes a few more weeks to sort it out and negotiate and sort it out with the client. So there's a range. In my experience supervising these projects, it's not a bug, it's a feature, that figuring out how to make a project or this idea or a question, how to make it tractable and doable within the time allotted is actually a useful skill. One of my roles, I should say, as a supervisor is the clients, in many cases, our students, after this intense first year of training, already have quantitative skills, for that matter, qualitative analytical skills that surpass what many of the clients' staff have. And so my job is to make sure that the clients don't overwork our students, because they often when they see what our students can do, they want to give them more, and forget that the students are actually not yet on staff and have other courses available. Yeah. So Amy, it wasn't that different when you were doing it, Amy. Amy, can I ask, did you get your first choice?
Yes, and everyone in my group did as well. So we were all really excited.
All right, good. Yeah, and so you have an in-house supervisor who sort of works a kind of I kind of hover and help out where I can, especially as it gets to the later stages when the students are putting together their proposals, their reports, and getting ready for this final presentation. So Lucy, does that help? That helps answer the question?
Yes, I didn't know at all how it would go. So I'm really relieved to know that most people usually get really what they want. So thank you so much about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Great. And yeah, nice seeing you. Are there other questions we can answer? I know there's a whole bunch. I haven't had a chance to read them in the chat, but the others in the team are dealing with those.
Lloyd, we have a question from Sydney in the chat for Amy. Just to read it out loud. I like what Jonas said about how you learn to solve things in the real world, but also from a rigorous academic perspective. I'm curious for Amy, how did this prepare you for your current role, as it focused more academically instead of more skills based?
Good question.
Okay, good question. I think really, so just high level, kind of what Jonas and Lloyd have both said. This whole program does sharpen your thinking skills and kind of melds your mind to be able to strategically think, critically think, and problem solve. So I think those are kind of just using that all the time throughout all of our courses, and really kind of digesting what you're working on was something that was a huge help into this new role. I think getting into kind of more day to day, I was able, or am able, to work on some of our projects that we have, doing econometric-y focused work. So supporting our MEL teams, getting to participate in doing baseline and inline surveys, supporting analysis of program data. All of that I would not have been able to do if I hadn't done the MPA. I didn't have those hard skills before. And also for a program that I'm working on in Nigeria, we have a big kind of governance policy component to it. It's an education program. And so I've been able to help draft policy briefs that are going both to the donor, but also to the Nigerian government. And again, these are all things that you do throughout your courses in the MPA. So it definitely supported me and supports me every day in what I'm doing.
Yeah, can I just say that, so I sometimes make this, so we know there are other policy schools out there. I've taught at one for a number of years, and the Harris School is a great school that as well. I think one thing you might be thinking about, or what you maybe should be thinking about, is whether you want to be a producer of public policy or sort of social science knowledge, or or would it be sufficient to be a consumer? So let me say a little bit more about that. So I think at a number of policy schools, that when they teach, let's say, statistics or data analysis, the goal is to show students what the authors, what the analysts were doing, so that when they present a table, the students will understand, oh, that's a coefficient, and will have some sense of what the project was about and how to kind of interpret the tables. Our training is designed to create producers, people who actually not just understand what it's about, but can do it. And that does require a level of sophistication. I mean, it's harder and it takes more time, but what that allows you to do is pretty much anything you want to do. You can do analysis on all sorts of things, and you're not just a passive consumer. You can contribute to knowledge in a direct way. And yeah, it just takes 2 years. We also offer a 1-year MPP program for sort of mid-career. You have to have 5 years of experience, which frankly, many MPA students come into the MPA program with 5 years or more. But it's a 1-year program, and so you're not going to come out being a producer in that way. Ours, because it's 2 years, we can pretty much guarantee that you will be able to do that. One more thing to say while I'm thinking about the 1 versus 2 years. I mean, I already mentioned that you can pivot from one interest or passion that perhaps you wrote about in your statement of purpose, and you came to London to pursue, but you find something else, and that you're passionate about, maybe even more passionate about, and that does happen. The nice, another nice thing about the 2-year MPA is that you're 2 years in the same place, and with the same students who you've gotten to know in the first year, and with the same faculty. There is a startup cost to moving to London, which most of our students do. I mean, it's a very exciting place, but you have to learn how to navigate it. It's expensive, so you have to find where the good deals are. And so those startup costs, they're real. I won't pretend otherwise. But if you're here for 2 years, but in your second year, you've already incurred those costs. You know your way around, and so you can focus on what you're learning in the SPP and all these networks you're forming. We have a number of students, and we do have options, and it might be that those options are right for you. You'll have to decide. But where you come for 1 year to our program, you do the first year in London, and then you go to a partner institution, at Columbia University or University of Toronto, or at Sciences Po. It's sort of flipped. You do the first year there, and then you come to London. It's sort of a mix and match thing, which it's nice. You go to 2 different institutions, but your head is spinning a little bit, and it takes time to reacclimate. So what I like about the MPA, partly it's selfish because I really get to know the students who've been here for 2 years, but I think the students, like Jonas now, they know their way around. Jonas, do you want to speak to that, being in London for 2 years?
Yeah, I definitely think London needs some time till you settle in, and I felt like the people from the double degree or the 1-year students are a bit sad, because after a couple of when they go, it actually starts to become very fun, and you figured out the nice your way around and where to live. And so I would say first year was great, but second year in terms of London is even more fun, because I know my way around, and I know my local pub, and I know my things to do on Sundays, and I'm still exploring, because it's amazing. You can see every weekend, you can go to another park, another gallery, another exhibition, another whatever. And yeah, but it takes a while till you know where to go and where to look. And I think the views are amazing in that sense. Also because you don't pressure yourself so much in the first year. You're not I need to see everything, and you can breathe and come back to things you couldn't do in the second year.
Yeah, that's it's wonderful. Now we're making Amy feel FOMO because she's not here anymore. Other questions? Raise your hand. We have a little bit of time, not much. Are there other things we haven't? Alice or Elise, if you're French, where are you zooming from? If you want to say, and what's your question?
I'm zooming from Atlanta, Georgia,
That's where
in the
I'm
US.
from. It's where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Where I grew up. Yeah.
Me too. But I was just wondering, both Amy and Lloyd, you've had experience in American institutions, and I feel like I've heard a bit that the UK university setting, you're assessed a little bit differently than you are in the US, and you're taught a little bit differently. And I was wondering if you could speak at all to those differences and whether the adjustment came quite naturally or if there was a bit of a learning curve, and if you have any suggestions or advice for transitioning from the US to the UK.
Yeah, I'll take a first crack at it, and then maybe Amy, you can add or correct. So I had actually been after college, and I went to college in the U.S. Then I came to England for a couple of years to Oxford, which has a one-year policy school that suffers from many of the things that I'm talking about, as my colleagues or as my friends there would agree. So I was a little familiar with the English system, and then I was in the U.S. for a while, and I came back and had a kind of culture shock. I would say, I mean, it's not radically different, and the LSE is probably the most American-like. It's not just we stick you with a tutor and you come back in 2 years and take a whole battery of very intense high-stakes exams, and then that's it. No, it's much more. You have courses and lectures and seminars, so it's more. It will be more familiar to you, Alice, than you might think. The difference is that there's less spoon feeding is the metaphor. In the U.S., and I was doing this as well. Like there's always a test coming up, and the students want to know what's going to be on the test, and so you okay, this we're going to talk about this, and here's what you need to know for the test, and you give it to them, and they write down. They write it down and they try to memorize it for the test. Here, it's the lectures, especially the lectures. It's a little more free form, and the students are more. It's going to sound like we're being lazy. It's the opposite. The students are responsible for their own education to a much greater extent. That's partly because the students have very different interests and they come to it at different levels. As I said, many of our students have never seen any of this. They've never done economics. They've never done political science. So we provide these lectures that are exciting, but the students take it and run with it in different ways. It's less, and there are fewer tests of that sort. It used to be a lot of these high stakes exam, but we've moved away from that. So all the courses have, even if they have a big exam, there'll be other coursework along the way. It's like the students have to take ownership of their learning to a greater extent. That's the way I would put it. Did I get that right, Amy?
Yeah, no, that's everything I would say. The only two things I would add that are just a bit silly is one, the grading scheme. Like not having ABCs, it's totally different, and you have to get used to like, oh, 60 is a totally okay score.
60
like
is not just 60 is
like,
good.
what?
No, every year I have it's like total shock when I have students coming to my office complaining they got a 70. This is terrible.
Yes.
So in the UK system, you don't need to know this now. Maybe in September you'll learn about it. A 70 is called a distinction, and it's a terrific, very rare mark. It's almost as good as you can do. Maybe sometimes you get a 72 or 73, whereas in the US, it's essentially a failing grade. So yes, that calibration takes a while, but you'll get used to it. So I think we're almost out of time, but Albert, if I can squeeze in another question, hopefully at least that Alice, making you French, that answered your question or began to. Albert, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Dr. Lloyd and everyone. I'm calling from Colombia.
Hey.
Thank you for this opportunity. My question is, will be able to access the recording later? There are parts I don't quite understand. I'm currently improving my English with the goal of starting LSA in 2027.
In 2027. So you wouldn't be applying for this year, you'd be applying for the following year. Yeah, so yes. I mean, that's fine. And maybe Sarah, you can speak to this, but this recording will be available, and also those slides I zipped through will also be available, and they have links on them that will point you to the information you need. And Maddie is here also. So if you have questions, it'll tell you where to go to. We're very eager to answer questions because we want students for whom this is an appropriate choice to know what they're getting into. Sarah, is there any?
Just to say that,
Yeah.
and to reiterate what Lloyd just said, we will be sending around this recording with the slides, so you can, after this, you'll have access to all the information that we've talked about and all the links and things like that. There's also FAQs pages on our website, so if you have any particular questions that you can't find the answer to, there'll be a list on the website, so there'll be points where you can go, I'm trying to find this, and this is where you go. But I'd recommend checking out our study page for the particular program you're interested in, and that will have a wealth of information there and ways to contact us if you have questions.
So I think I need to shut this down, which is a shame. Let me first thank Jonas and Amy for joining us, and let me also thank you for tuning in, whether you're doing it on the day or after. But let me also say, and I mean this, I wish you good luck, even if you don't end up applying to our program, or you apply and you don't get in. I feel sad for you, but we know it's complicated. There's a bigger landscape out there. I think policy degrees in general are fantastic. They can change your life. So I would strongly encourage you, if you do want to become an effective policymaker, whatever your background, it's a good option. So good luck with with your endeavor on that front. And hopefully some of you will find the SBP is a place you'd like to apply, and we'll get your applications in, ideally by that January deadline, and perhaps I'll be seeing you in September. So thanks to all of you, and have a nice day or evening or morning, depending on where you're calling from. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.